I guess my greatest crime is I had a relationship with a man, but that's not something that I find embarrassing in any way.
I don't think that the Georgia Court of Appeals is ultimately going to decide that she ought to be disqualified, right?
President, at least a temporary victory in his election interference case brought by DA FANI Willis.
Clarify this. We'll break it down. He never came there, okay? So if you don't come someplace, you can't live there.
And I know that I have not done anything that's illegal. And so I don't feel like my reputation needs to be reclaimed.
Defense attorneys want her disqualified from prosecuting former President Donald Trump and others accused of election interference in 2020.
Victory for Trump. Guess what? Big news on the Trump front. The Georgia Court of Appeals just hit pause on a major case. And guess who's smiling ear to ear? Yep, you guessed it. Former President Trump. This isn't just any old victory, it's a game changer. So here's the scoop. Trump's legal team filed a motion and boom, the Georgia Court of Appeals gave it the green light. Translation, the case is on hold. You can almost hear the cheers from Trump Tower. But hold your horses, because this victory isn't just about Trump's side popping the champagne. Nope, it's a punch in the gut for District Attorney FANI Willis and her squad. Imagine prepping for the legal battle of a lifetime, only for the rug to get pulled out from under you. Now, why all the fuss? Well, let's rewind a bit. Trump and his crew threw down the gauntlet, claiming that Willis had some serious conflicts of interest. You know, the whole she's cozying up with her top assistant kind of vibe? Not exactly the stuff you want to hear when you're gearing up for a legal showdown. So Trump's legal eagles swoop in, file their motion, and boom, the Georgia Court of Appeals steps in. Suddenly the brakes screech and the whole case grinds to a halt. Talk about a plot twist. For Trump, it's a victory lap worth taking. This delay buys him precious time, especially with the looming shadow of the general election hanging over everything. It's like hitting the pause button on a high-stakes game and giving yourself a chance to catch your breath. But for Willis and her crew, well, let's just say it's back to the drawing board. They've got to regroup, reassess, and figure out their next move. It's a tough blow, no doubt about it.
Tonight, there's a new legal victory for Donald Trump in his Georgia election interference case. An appeals court agreed today to hear Trump's argument.
You're confused. You think I'm on trial. These people are on trial for trying to steal an election in 2020.
We're not going to miss or skip a beat because of all the noise or the distraction on one case. We're going to continue to do our work.
And decides that, disqualification of FANI Willis and her office are a problem. That puts the case in a little bit of a prosecutorial limbo.
I am not a perfect human being, but what I am is a hardworking human being and a human being that loves the community I serve.
Alleged conflict of interest. Things are heating up in the legal arena. Trump and his posse aren't pulling any punches. They've just fired off a cannonball of emotion aimed straight at District Attorney FANI Willis. What's it all about? We're diving into the juicy details. Trump and 8 of his cronies are staring down the barrel of a major legal battle. But instead of playing defense, they're going on the offense. How? By filing a heavyweight appeal motion to disqualify DA Willis. Talk about a bold move. Now, what's got Trump and the gang all riled up? Well, it's all about conflicts of interest, the kind that could make even the most seasoned lawyer break a sweat. You see, Willis isn't just any old district attorney. She's got a special someone by her side, her top assistant, Nathan Wade. But here's where things get sticky. Trump's legal eagles are crying foul, alleging that Willis and Wade are a bit too cozy for comfort. And by cozy, we mean they're sharing more than office space. They've got a whole romantic saga going on.
You said you didn't want to violate the public's trust. I'm curious, do you think that you've done any kind of damage to this case?
None at all.
I don't feel like my reputation needs to be reclaimed. Let's say it for the record. I'm not embarrassed by anything I've done.
Even the public perception of it.
My private life became the focal point of the case.
I guess my greatest crime is I had a relationship with a man, but that's not something that I find embarrassing in any way.
My private life has nothing to do with the merits of that prosecution.
Now, normally, a little office romance might just be water under the bridge. But when you're talking about a high-profile legal battle like this, it's a whole different ballgame. Trump's team is waving the red flag, screaming conflict of interest at the top of their lungs. And that's why they've pulled out all the stops, firing off that appeal motion like a legal bazooka. They're not messing around. They want Willis out, and they want her out now. So what happens next? Well, that's anyone's guess, but one thing's for sure. Trump and his crew aren't backing down. With the stakes this high, you can bet they'll keep fighting tooth and nail until they get the justice they're after. As for Willis, well, she's got her work cut out for her. It's a legal showdown for the ages, and we're just getting started.
Almost 2.5 month attempt to remove you from this case. Did that delay or derail your own case that you're working on?
So breaking news right now, a major development in the Fulton County election interference case against former President Donald Trump.
I don't think that the Georgia Court of Appeals is ultimately going to decide that she ought to be disqualified, right?
Still have demurs and other motions that have not been responded to, and so those motions will have to be resolved.
Constitutional law professor, they indicated that the Georgia case can't go forward if the former president is elected to this presidency.
Impact on election timing. The legal drama just took a wild turn. Trump's legal battle is like a ticking time explosive, set to explode right before the general election. But guess what? Someone just hit the snooze button and the whole thing just got delayed. The Georgia Court of Appeals just pumped the brakes on Trump's trial, pushing it way past the November showdown. And you can bet your bottom dollar that everyone's feeling the ripple effects. First up, Trump himself. Let's just say he's breathing a sigh of relief. With the trial on ice, he's got a bit more breathing room, and let's face it, every extra day counts when you're gearing up for the fight of your life. But what about the rest of us? Well, that's where things get interesting. See, this trial isn't just about Trump and his legal woes. It's a political powder keg waiting to blow. And with the trial delayed, the whole political landscape just shifted.
News: a Georgia appeals court has now agreed to take up the Trump team's appeal of the FANI Willis disqualification ruling.
Almost certain that this will not take place now before November. What does it mean for FANI Willis?
President, at least a temporary victory in his election interference case brought by DA FANI Willis.
Georgia Court of Appeals accepted a bid led by Mr. Trump to appeal a Fulton County disqualification order.
During day 2 of testimony in the misconduct hearing against Fulton County District Attorney FANI Willis.
With the trial out of the picture, Trump's opponents have one less arrow in their quiver. They can't exactly sling mud at him when there's no trial to sling it at, can they? It's like taking away their favorite toy right before Christmas. Talk about a bummer. And let's not forget about the elephant in the room, the general election. With the trial pushed back, Trump's got a bit more breathing room to focus on the campaign trail. He can hit the stump, shake some hands, and maybe even flip a few votes his way, all without the specter of a trial looming over his head. But hey, let's not count our chickens before they hatch. This trial delay might be a blessing for Trump, but it's far from game over. The legal eagle might be grounded for now, but you can bet he'll be soaring high again soon enough. After all, in the world of politics, anything can happen, and usually does.
An even tougher one, I think, is surprising, although not shocking, but in the end, I would be very surprised.
The case is in real jeopardy, and it could end, with the former president taking office.
Still wants the DA disqualified, so this appeal will slow down the Georgia case considerably.
Willis faces scrutiny. Looks like District Attorney FANI Willis is in the hot seat, and it's sizzling. The latest buzz? She's giving the cold shoulder to a Georgia Senate investigative committee. She's playing hard to get, and folks aren't too happy about it. Now, why all the fuss? Well, let's peel back the layers of this juicy onion. It all started when allegations started swirling about Willis and her right-hand man, Nathan Wade. Word on the street is they weren't just sharing office space, they were sharing a whole lot more, if you catch my drift.
He never came there, okay? So if you don't come someplace, you can't live there.
State Senate committee investigating misconduct allegations against Fulton County District Attorney FANI Willis.
I think that this judge actually issued a pretty tough decision on FANI Willis. The fact that the appeals court is considering
has ruled that FANI Willis could stay as long as her former paramour, Nathan Wade, was removed from the case.
And I know that I have not done anything that's illegal. And so I don't feel like my reputation needs to be reclaimed.
And that's where things take a nosedive. See, when you're in the public eye like Willis, you've got to play by the rules. But instead of facing the music, she's gone into full-on turtle mode, ducking and dodging those tough questions like a pro. But here's where it gets even stickier. Allegations of misusing taxpayer funds. It's like pouring gasoline on a bonfire. Suddenly, what started as a little office romance has turned into a full-blown scandal. And that's why all eyes are on Willis. The people want answers, and they want them now. But instead of stepping up to the plate, she's dug in her heels and refused to testify. Talk about adding fuel to the fire. Now, I'm not one to play judge and jury, but something smells fishy here. When you're running a tight ship like a DA's office, you gotta lead by example. But instead of leading from the front, Willis is hiding in the shadows, and folks aren't too pleased about it. Public faith undermined. Looks like we've got ourselves a full-blown crisis of confidence on our hands. Who's to blame? District Attorney FANI WILLIS herself. She's turned the legal world upside down, and folks aren't too pleased about it. Let's break it down. First up, her refusal to testify before a Georgia Senate investigative committee. Talk about raising eyebrows. When you're in a position of power like Willis, transparency is key. But instead of coming clean, she's gone to full-on hiding mode, and it's not sitting too well with the folks in the peanut gallery. And that's not all. We've got allegations of misuse of taxpayer funds thrown into the mix. Now, if that doesn't make your blood boil, I don't know what will. When you're entrusted with taxpayer dollars, you've got a duty to handle them with care. But instead of playing by the rules, Willis is playing fast and loose, and the public's trust is hanging in the balance. And that's the real kicker here, public trust. See, when you're in the justice game, trust is everything. It's the glue that holds the whole dang system together. But with Willis's actions casting a dark shadow, that trust is starting to crumble like a house of cards.
I'm not on trial, no matter how hard you try to put me on trial.
An appeal on this latest decision by Judge McAfee, with Trump and his co-defendants seeking an appeal.
Defense attorneys want her disqualified from prosecuting former President Donald Trump and others accused of election interference in 2020.
And let's not forget the bigger picture here. This isn't just about Willis. It's about the integrity of the whole dang legal process. When prosecutors start playing fast and loose, it's like a cancer spreading through the system. Suddenly, folks are left wondering if justice is just a pipe dream, and that's a dangerous road to go down. That's all for this video, folks. See you next time.